My wife let her friends push a fake breakup to test my devotion, expecting panic and gifts. But my calm agreement flipped the power, exposed hidden motives, and set off consequences she never saw coming before the truth could surface. I, 34 male, work as a senior project manager for a large construction company here in Dallas. I make around $165,000 a year managing commercial building projects. Not crazy rich, but definitely comfortable. I own my house outright, bought it before prices went insane. I drive a paid-off truck and have about $90,000 in savings. Nothing flashy, but I'm financially stable and independent. I met my wife Mia 3 years ago, through mutual friends at a backyard barbecue in North Dallas. She was 29, worked as a marketing coordinator at some boutique digital agency, making maybe $32,000 annually, and honestly way prettier than girls who usually give me the time of day. I'm not delusional about my looks. I know I may be a 6 on a good day with a fresh haircut and decent clothes. She's easily an 8.5 blonde with that expensive salon look, fit from daily Pilates classes, always dressed like she stepped out of a magazine. I knew from day one I was punching way above my weight class. We dated for about 18 months before getting married in what turned out to be an expensive ceremony that I mostly paid for. Looking back with perfect hindsight, I should have paid attention to the glaring red flags that were practically slapping me in the face. 2 months after our wedding, she quit her job because it was supposedly too stressful and she wanted to focus on being a good wife and creating a beautiful home for us. What that actually translated to was spending her days shopping at Nordstrom, getting weekly manicures and monthly spa treatments, and hanging out with her equally useless friends while I worked 50-hour weeks managing construction deadlines to pay for everything, including her lifestyle. I was happy to support her financially at first. I figured she'd eventually find something she was passionate about, or maybe go back to school to get a better degree. Instead, she developed a serious passion for spending my hard-earned money and treating me like her personal bank account with legs. The worst part was her friend group, a trio that I privately called the Coven. 3 of the most shallow, materialistic women I've ever had the misfortune to encounter. There was Brittany, a 31-year-old former sorority girl married to some poor accountant who worked himself into the ground, funding her shopping addiction and social media lifestyle. Madison, 30, who was perpetually engaged to a different wealthy guy every 6 months, each one richer than the last as she climbed her way up the financial ladder. And finally, Ashley, 33, recently divorced and living lavishly off massive alimony payments from her ex-husband, who was apparently some successful cardiologist. These women viewed romantic relationships as nothing more than sophisticated business transactions. They'd openly discuss trading up to wealthier men over brunch, compare their partners' annual salaries like they were analyzing stock portfolios, and coach each other on advanced manipulation tactics they'd learned from podcasts and self-help books. They had this disgusting habit of rating men based on their earning potential and what luxury items they could provide. Mia always claimed she was different from them and not like that, but she hung on their every toxic word like it was wisdom from ancient philosophers. The person who saw through Mia's carefully constructed act from day one was my childhood friend Tyler Rodriguez. We've been incredibly tight since elementary school when we were both awkward kids getting picked on by bigger kids. He's a master electrician who makes excellent money working on high-end residential projects, but lives modestly in a small house because he's systematically saving every possible dollar to buy rental properties and retire early. Tyler has this almost supernatural gift for reading people's true motivations that comes from decades of dealing with all types of personalities on construction job sites. He's brutally honest about absolutely everything, which makes him hilarious to be around, but also means most people find him way too abrasive and can't handle his direct communication style for more than a few minutes. "Dude, your wife's going to bankrupt you if you don't wake up," he told me about 6 months ago while we were working on his truck in his cluttered garage. "She spent more on that ridiculous purse last week than I spent on groceries in 2 months. It's our money, man," I said, defending her like an idiot. Tyler almost dropped his wrench, laughing. "Our money? When's the last time she contributed anything to that account? She's got you trained like a circus animal. I should have listened." Tyler has incredible instincts about people, probably from years of working with contractors and dealing with homeowners. He called Mia a professional user and predicted she'd eventually pull some manipulative stunt to test how whipped I was. He was absolutely right. Last month, Tyler started noticing Mia acting strange around me. We'd all gone out for dinner. Me, Mia, Tyler, and his girlfriend Emma. Mia was being unusually affectionate, constantly mentioning how lucky she was to have such a generous husband, making comments about how some women don't appreciate what they have. After the women went to powder their noses, Tyler leaned over and said, "She's planning something. That's not normal behavior for her. Usually she treats you like hired help." "What do you mean?" "I mean, she just called you generous 4 times in 15 minutes. The same woman who complained last week when you bought store-brand cereal instead of name-brand. She's buttering you up for something big." Tyler was right, but I didn't want to admit it. Mia had been acting strange for weeks. Overly sweet one day, then cold and distant the next. She'd also been spending more time on the phone with her friends, always stepping out when I came around. 2 weeks ago, Tyler called me with disturbing news that made my stomach completely drop. "Brother, I was at that trendy coffee shop downtown yesterday meeting a potential client. Your wife's friends were sitting at the table right next to us and they were talking about you specifically." "What kind of talking?" "The kind where they're plotting something messed up." I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough. "Something about testing you and making you prove yourself." They were laughing about it like it was the most entertaining thing ever. "You sure they meant me?" "They used your name, man, and kept mentioning Mia. Whatever they're cooking up, she's part of it." That's when I started paying closer attention to Mia's behavior. Sure enough, she was definitely building towards something major. The plan revealed itself last Thursday in the most ridiculous and pathetic way possible. I'd been working from home because we had an important client meeting that got canceled at the last minute, something Mia didn't know about since she assumed I was at the office following my normal routine. I was in my home office around 2 p.m., working on project spreadsheets when I heard multiple voices coming from the living room. Mia was on speakerphone with her 3 friends talking loud enough that I could hear every single word clearly from down the hall. I was about to go say hello when I heard Brittany's voice. "Okay, so here's exactly what you need to do. Tell him you're not happy and need space to think about your marriage." My blood ran cold. I quietly moved closer to the living room, staying hidden. "But what if he doesn't care?" Mia asked. "What if he just agrees and doesn't fight for me?" Madison laughed that awful cackle of hers. "Honey, men are simple creatures. They only value what they think they might lose. My ex didn't appreciate me until I threatened to leave. Then suddenly he was buying jewelry and planning vacations." "Exactly," Ashley chimed in. "My divorce lawyer told me men never realize what they have until it's gone. You need to create that fear." "But what if he calls my bluff?" Mia sounded nervous. "He won't," Brittany said confidently. "Trust me, I've done this with my husband twice. Men always panic when their wife threatens to leave. He'll probably cry and promise to change everything about himself." I was standing in my own hallway listening to these women plot to destroy my marriage like it was some kind of game show. "When should I do it?" Mia asked. "This weekend," Madison said. "Make it dramatic but believable. Tell him you've been thinking about your future and you're not sure this is what you want. And document everything," Ashley added with glee. "I want to see his face when he realizes he might lose his hot wife. This is going to be better than reality TV." "Remember," Brittany continued, "stay calm and serious. Don't give him any hints. It's a test. Let him sweat for a few days and see how hard he works to win you back." "What kind of things should I ask for?" Mia asked. And this particular question made my blood literally boil, because it confirmed this whole thing was about extracting money and gifts from me. "Start small to test the waters," Madison advised with the calculating tone of someone who had clearly done this multiple times. "Maybe suggest a romantic weekend trip to that resort in Napa you've been wanting to visit. See how desperate he gets and how quickly he agrees. If he's really panicking and thinks he might lose you, you might finally get that designer handbag you've been dropping hints about for months." Men will spend crazy money when they think their relationship is in danger. They all laughed like this was the most brilliant and entertaining scheme ever invented by womankind. "Oh, and Mia," Ashley added with malicious glee. "Make absolutely sure you mention how successful and attractive you are during the conversation. Remind him subtly that other men would jump at the chance to have you. Men need constant reminders that they're completely replaceable and that you're doing them a favor by being with them." I'd heard enough. I quietly backed away and returned to my office, closing the door softly. My hands were literally shaking with anger. These toxic women were encouraging my wife to manipulate me for material gain. But what made me sickest was that Mia was going along with it. This wasn't about testing my love. This was about seeing how much money and gifts she could squeeze out of me through emotional manipulation. I immediately texted Tyler, "Emergency. Can you meet me at the diner after work? Need advice." His response came back instantly. "Told you she was up to something. I'll be there at 6. The diner was our usual spot for serious conversations." Tyler was already there when I arrived, nursing a coffee and scrolling through his phone. "All right, what did your wife do now?" he asked as I sat down. I told him everything I'd overheard. By the time I finished, Tyler was grinning like he just won the lottery. "This is perfect," he said. "Perfect? Dude, my wife is planning to manipulate me for money." "No, you don't understand. This is actually the best thing that could have happened." Tyler leaned forward and I could see the wheels turning. "She's about to hand you the ultimate trump card." "What do you mean? Think about it. She's going to fake a crisis in your marriage to manipulate you into spending money on her, but you know it's fake. That means you control the entire situation." I stared at him. "I'm not following." Tyler pulled out his phone and opened the voice recorder app with practiced ease. "First, you're going to record her entire little performance from start to finish. Audio evidence of her deliberately trying to manipulate you. Is that legal? It's legal to record conversations in your own home in Texas. Look it up." He was right. "Second, instead of falling for her manipulation, you're going to flip the script completely." "How?" Tyler's grin got even wider and more mischievous. "You're going to call her bluff so hard it'll make her head spin completely. She wants to test how much you love her. You're going to show her exactly how much you love being manipulated by someone you trust." He laid out the plan. Instead of begging her to stay like she expected, I would calmly agree with everything she said. If she wanted space, I'd give her space. If she wanted a break, I'd help her pack. If she escalated to divorce, I'd start researching attorneys. "But won't that backfire on me too?" I asked. "Only if you actually go through with it. The point is to make her panic and confess that it's all fake. Once she admits she was lying, you've got her completely cornered. Then what?" Tyler took a long sip of his coffee. "Then you decide whether you want to stay married to someone who thinks manipulating you is acceptable. And if I don't, then you've got recorded evidence of her admitting to emotional manipulation, which any divorce attorney would love to have." The plan was devious, but I had to admit it was brilliant. Tyler had figured out how to make Mia's manipulation tactics backfire spectacularly. "There's one more thing," Tyler said. "Her friends need to pay for this too. They are the masterminds behind this scheme." "What did you have in mind?" "Let's just say I've been looking for an opportunity to humble those women for a while. When this blows up in their faces, I want to make sure everyone in their social circle knows what they really are." Tyler had extensive connections through his electrical work. He'd done high-end electrical installations for half the wealthy neighborhoods in Dallas over the years. He also knew some of the husbands of Mia's friends through various construction projects. "I've worked on houses for both Brittany's husband and Madison's fiancé." Tyler told me, "They're actually decent guys who have no idea what their women are really like. These men deserve to know what's happening behind their backs." The more we talked, the more I realized this was bigger than just my marriage. Mia's friends had probably pulled this manipulation scheme on other men. This was a chance to expose their entire toxic operation. "So, we're really doing this?" I asked. Tyler raised his coffee mug. "We're absolutely doing this. These women picked the wrong couple to mess with." Saturday morning arrived and right on schedule, so did Mia's Academy Award-worthy performance. I was in the garage organizing my tools, something I genuinely enjoy on weekends. When she appeared in the doorway wearing this concerned expression she'd obviously practiced in the mirror, I had my phone in my pocket, already recording, just like Tyler suggested. "We need to talk," she said, using that serious tone her friends had coached her to use. I looked up from my workbench, wiping my hands on a rag. "Sure. What's up?" She took a deep breath, preparing for her big moment. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about us, about our marriage, and I'm just not sure I'm happy anymore." I nodded slowly, pretending to process this shocking revelation. "Okay, what specifically is making you unhappy?" The question caught her completely off guard. She'd probably expected me to immediately start panicking or asking what I'd done wrong. "It's just I feel like we've fallen into this routine, and I don't know if this is what I want for the rest of my life. I need some space to figure out what I really want." "Space," I repeated, setting down my wrench. "What kind of space are we talking about? Maybe we should take a break. Live separately for a while so I can think clearly about our future." I wiped my hands and leaned against the workbench. "How long of a break?" She blinked, clearly not expecting such a straightforward response. "I don't know, a few weeks? Maybe a month?" "A month?" I said, nodding thoughtfully. "That seems reasonable. When do you want to start?" Her mouth actually fell open. This wasn't going according to script at all. "You're okay with this?" she stammered. I shrugged. Mia, you said you're unhappy and need space to figure things out. I'm not going to force you to stay in a marriage that doesn't make you happy. The color literally drained from her face. This was supposed to be the part where I panicked and started offering to buy her things. But don't you want to talk about this? Try to work things out? What's to work out? You just told me you're not sure you want to be married to me. That's a pretty clear message. I started walking toward the house. I'll start looking for a short-term apartment today. That way you can have the house to yourself while you think. Wait, what? She followed me inside, her composure completely shattered. You're moving out right now? Well, you said you needed space. I figure that means physical space too. I was already pulling out my laptop. I'll check rental listings, see if there's anything decent available for a month. She stood there watching me search for apartments, clearly struggling with how far off script this had gone. Don't you have any questions? Any feelings about this? I looked at her with genuine curiosity. Of course I have feelings, Mia, but you've made it clear that my feelings aren't enough to make you happy in this marriage. So what's the point of discussing them? That's not what I said. You said you weren't sure if you wanted to be married to me anymore. That's pretty definitive. Her phone buzzed. Probably one of her friends checking on how the test was going. I'm going to call Tyler and see if he wants to grab dinner tonight, I said casually. Since we're separated now, I figure we should both start adjusting to being single again. Single? The word came out as a whisper. That's what a separation is, right? Taking time to experience life without each other. I could see her mind racing, trying to figure out how to salvage this without admitting it was all fake. I think you're misunderstanding what I meant by space, she said desperately. Am I? Because it sounds like you want the freedom to decide whether you want to be married to me, which means we're essentially divorced until you make that decision. She sat down heavily on the couch, watching me search apartment listings with growing alarm. Where are you looking to stay? Found a nice place downtown, 1 bedroom, fully furnished. $1,600 for the month. I showed her the screen with photos of a modern apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a balcony. Close to some excellent restaurants in that new entertainment district. Should be really interesting, exploring the city as a single guy again. You seem awfully excited about this, she said, her voice cracking with barely concealed panic. I stopped typing and looked at her with what I hoped appeared to be genuine concern and confusion. Would you prefer that I was miserable and crying? Because I can definitely be miserable if that would somehow make you feel better about your decision to leave me. No, that's not. I just expected you to have more of an emotional reaction to your wife saying she wants to separate. My reaction is to respect your clearly stated wishes and give you exactly what you asked for without arguing or trying to change your mind. Isn't that what you wanted from me? She didn't answer, just stared at me with growing horror as I continued browsing apartment listings like I was shopping for vacation rentals. Her phone buzzed again with what was obviously another text from her friends, and this time, she ignored it completely, probably too shocked to even look at it. The test was in full swing, but the results were nothing like what she or her friends had anticipated. By Sunday evening, Mia was in full panic mode. I'd actually booked the apartment like I said I would, and spent most of the day there getting settled. I even posted some photos on social media, me at a downtown restaurant walking through a park looking like I was having the time of my life. Tyler came by the apartment around 7 p.m. with takeout food and a huge grin on his face. Dude, this place is nice, he said, looking around. Way better than your house, honestly. Right. I'm thinking about extending the rental even after this whole situation gets resolved. Tyler laughed. Have you seen Mia's social media today? I hadn't, but he showed me on his phone. She'd posted a series of cryptic stories, quotes about knowing your worth and fighting for love, along with pictures of herself looking sad and contemplative. She's fishing for sympathy, Tyler said, probably hoping her followers will ask what's wrong so she can play the victim. How do you think her friends are reacting to this? Oh, they're freaking out completely. Madison posted something earlier about how some men don't deserve good women. They're probably having an emergency group chat trying to figure out what went wrong. We were absolutely right. Around 9 p.m., I got a call from Mia. Can we talk? She asked, her voice shaky. Sure. What's up? Can you come home? Just for dinner tomorrow night. I want to discuss things. I don't know if that's a good idea, Mia. You said you needed space to think clearly and spending time together would just muddy the waters. Please, just one dinner. I sighed loudly enough for her to hear. All right, but only if you're sure it won't interfere with your decision-making process. Monday night's dinner was a master class in desperation. Mia had cooked my favorite meal, something she hadn't done since our honeymoon, and was wearing the dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. "I've been thinking about what I said on Saturday," she began carefully. "Good," I said, cutting my steak. "Progress is important. That's the whole point of taking time apart. Maybe I was too hasty. Maybe we should try counseling instead of living separately." I looked at her with genuine confusion. "Counseling? But you said you weren't sure if you wanted to be married to me anymore. What would we counsel about?" "I think I was just stressed. Managing the household and everything has been overwhelming lately." I nearly laughed. Mia's idea of managing the household was hiring a cleaning service and ordering takeout. "Stress makes sense," I said. "It can definitely make you question fundamental things like whether you love your husband." She winced. "I never said I didn't love you." "No, but you did say you weren't sure if you wanted to spend your life with me. That's a pretty serious concern that probably can't be fixed with a few therapy sessions." I stood up and started clearing my plate. "Besides, now that I've had a couple days to think about it, maybe this separation is exactly what we both needed." "What do you mean?" she asked, following me to the kitchen. "Well, I've realized how much energy I was putting into trying to make someone happy who apparently wasn't happy anyway. It's actually liberating to just focus on myself for a change." Her face went pale. "You're saying you like being separated. I'm saying I'm learning a lot about myself and what I will and won't accept in a relationship." That night, she tried a different approach. She showed up at my apartment around 10 p.m., wearing a coat and heels. "I missed you," she said, trying to look seductive. "That's sweet," I said, not moving from the doorway. "But you said you needed space to think about whether you wanted to be with me. Getting together would just confuse things. What if I said I made a mistake? What if I said I didn't want to be separated anymore?" I leaned against the doorframe. "Then I'd say you need to be really sure about that decision." "What do you mean, Mia? You've already shown me that when things get stressful, your instinct is to question our entire marriage. How do I know this won't happen again the next time you have a bad day?" She stared at me, realizing I was turning her own fake concerns into real relationship issues. "You're being deliberately difficult," she said, frustration creeping into her voice. "I'm being realistic. Good night, Mia." I closed the door, leaving her standing in the hallway. Wednesday morning, Mia showed up at my apartment before I left for work. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk," she said, pushing past me into the apartment. "Okay," I said, pouring my coffee. "What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking during this separation and maybe we should consider making it permanent." I nearly choked on my coffee. "She was going nuclear, like a divorce?" I asked. "Maybe. I mean, if we're both happier apart." I nodded slowly, like I was considering this carefully. "You know what? You might be right." Her eyes went wide. "I've been thinking the same thing. Actually, this week has shown me a lot about what I want in a partner." She looked like I'd slapped her. This was supposed to be the threat that brought me crawling back. "You want a divorce?" "I want to be with someone who's sure they want to be with me. And you've made it pretty clear that's not you. But what about everything we built together? The house, our life. What about it? You're the one who said you weren't happy with our life." She was starting to panic now. "I didn't mean I wanted to throw everything away." "Then what did you mean, Mia? Because I'm getting mixed signals here." She opened and closed her mouth like a fish. There was no good answer that didn't expose her manipulation. "Maybe we should get counseling," she said desperately. "I already suggested that." "You said you weren't sure if you wanted to be married to me at all. That's beyond what therapy can fix." "I was just confused about whether you really appreciated me, and there it was. The real reason behind this whole charade. So, you decided to threaten our marriage to find out." "I didn't threaten anything. I just said I needed space. Most people would call telling your husband you're not sure you want to be married a threat, Mia." She was backing herself into a corner with every answer. "You're making this sound worse than it was," she said weakly. "How should it sound? Because from my perspective, my wife told me she was unhappy with our marriage and wanted to separate. I can't imagine a way to make that sound better." Her phone rang. Brittany's name flashed on the screen. "Your friend's checking on how the test is going?" I asked casually. She went completely white. "What test?" "The one where you fake a breakup to see how much I'll fight for you." "How's it working out so far?" Her mouth fell open. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really? Because I heard every word of your phone conversation last Thursday. The one where your friends convinced you to manipulate me by threatening to leave." She actually staggered backward. "You heard?" "I heard everything." The fake drama, the coaching on what to say, even the part where Ashley suggested you should ask for expensive gifts. Tears started forming in her eyes. But I wasn't finished. So let me ask you again, Mia. Were you genuinely unhappy in our marriage? Or were you running a psychological experiment on your husband for your friend's entertainment? It wasn't like that. What was it like then? They said it would help me understand how much you really valued me. And how much do I value you? I don't know anymore, she whispered. You want to know how I feel? I feel like I've been married to someone who would rather manipulate me than talk to me. I feel like my wife cares more about impressing her toxic friends than about our relationship. She was sobbing now. The worst part isn't even that you did it. The worst part is that you were willing to escalate it to divorce when the manipulation didn't work the way you expected. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry. I know it was wrong. No, you're sorry because you got caught and because it backfired. You spent 3 days doubling down on the lie instead of coming clean. I didn't know how to fix it. You could have told the truth at any point. Instead, you kept digging deeper. She was a complete mess now, but I'd been planning this moment for days. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your friends right now and tell them exactly how their brilliant plan worked out. You're going to explain how their manipulation scheme nearly destroyed your marriage. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it on speaker so I can hear every word. Mia called Brittany first, her hands shaking as she put the phone on speaker. Hey girl. Brittany's voice was annoyingly cheerful. How did everything go? Is he begging for forgiveness yet? Mia looked at me, tears streaming down her face. It didn't work, Brittany. It backfired completely. What do you mean it backfired? He didn't fight for me. When I said I wanted space, he helped me pack. When I said I wanted to separate, he moved out. When I mentioned divorce, he agreed with me. There was silence on the other end. That's not supposed to happen, Brittany said, confused. Men always panic when their wives threaten to leave. Well, this one didn't, I said loud enough for her to hear me. Oh no. Is he there? Yeah, I'm here, I said. And I heard your entire coaching session last Thursday. Every word of your brilliant manipulation scheme. We were just trying to help Mia feel more secure in her marriage by teaching her to lie and manipulate me. That's your idea of helping. Ashley's voice came through. She must have been there with Brittany. It's not manipulation if it helps her understand her worth. Her worth isn't determined by how desperately her husband reacts to fake problems. I said her worth comes from being honest and trustworthy. 2 things your advice completely undermined. You're being dramatic. Madison's voice joined in. Every relationship needs testing. Does yours? I asked. Have you tested your fiancé by lying to him and threatening to leave? Silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Mia is going to stop taking relationship advice from you 3. And you're going to stop giving advice that destroys marriages. You can't tell us what to do, Ashley said defiantly. You're right, but I can tell your husbands and boyfriends what you do. That got their attention. What do you mean? Brittany asked nervously. Tyler had given me contact information for several of their partners through his work connections. I'd also done some research and found Ashley's ex-husband on social media. I mean, your husband deserves to know that his wife coaches other women on how to manipulate their husbands. Brittany and Madison, your fiancé might be interested to learn about your little manipulation schemes. Ashley, I'm sure your ex would love to hear about this too. Might explain some things about your divorce. You wouldn't, Brittany whispered. Try me. Mia ended the call and immediately started protesting. What are you doing? She asked. Calling people who deserve to know the truth, I said. Please don't, she begged. They'll never forgive me. Maybe that'll teach you to choose better friends. I called Brittany's husband first. Tyler had given me his number from a job they'd worked together. He answered on the second ring. Hey, this is Mia's husband, I said. I need to tell you something about your wife. 20 minutes later, I told him everything. He was silent for a long time before speaking. I had no idea, he said finally. She always said her friends came to her for advice, but I didn't know it was this kind of thing. They've probably done this to other couples too, I said. Good grief. Thank you for telling me. I need to have a serious conversation with my wife. I called Madison's fiancé next. He was even more shocked. She's been coaching other women on how to manipulate their husbands. What the heck? Apparently, it's a regular thing. They meet up and plan these schemes. This explains so much about Madison's behavior lately. She's been acting strange, asking me weird questions about how much I'd fight for her if she left. By the time I finished making calls, Mia was curled up on my couch, sobbing. They're going to hate me, she said. They should. You help them destroy other people's relationships. What happens now? I sat down across from her. Now you decide what's more important to you, impressing your toxic friends or being married to me. I choose you, she said immediately. I choose our marriage. That's easy to say, but you chose their game over our relationship once already. Why should I believe this time is different? She had no answer. Over the next few days, the consequences started rolling in like dominoes falling in perfect sequence. Brittany's husband confronted her with everything I told him, and she immediately tried to deflect blame onto Mia and the other girls, claiming she'd been pressured into giving bad advice. Madison's fiancé called off their engagement completely after she broke down and admitted to testing him multiple times throughout their entire relationship with fake emergencies and manufactured drama. Ashley's ex-husband, armed with concrete evidence of her manipulative behavior patterns, successfully used the information in a legal motion to revisit their alimony arrangement, arguing that her deceptive nature had been concealed during their original divorce proceedings. All three women tried desperately calling Mia over the following week, begging her to somehow fix what I'd done to their carefully constructed lives. Each pathetic phone call made it increasingly clear what kind of selfish, toxic people they really were beneath their polished exteriors. You have to help me, Brittany cried during one call. He's talking about divorce. You know I can't afford to live on my own. Why would I help you? Mia asked. You almost destroyed my marriage. It was just supposed to be fun, a harmless test. Harmless. I almost lost my husband because of your stupid advice. Madison was even worse. You have to call Derek and tell him you made everything up. Tell him I never actually tested him, but you did test him. Mia said, just small things, not like what you did. Ashley was the most pathetic. I'm going to lose half my alimony because of what you told my ex. You owe me. I don't owe you anything. Mia said and hung up. That night, she blocked all three of them on everything: phone, social media, email. I can't believe I was friends with them. She said, they showed you who they really were. I said, you just didn't want to see it. 8 months later, our marriage is stronger than it's ever been. Not because we survived a crisis, but because Mia learned what happens when you try to manipulate someone who knows their worth. Brittany and her husband are divorced. She had to get a job for the first time in years, and now works retail making minimum wage. Madison is single and desperately trying to find another wealthy guy to marry, but word has gotten around about her manipulation tactics. Ashley lost most of her alimony and had to move back in with her parents at age 33. Mia learned that real security in a relationship comes from honest communication, not mind games. And I learned that sometimes the best way to fight for your marriage is to refuse to play games that undermine it. Tyler was absolutely right. They picked the wrong couple to mess with.